Hi, everybody. Okay, so we're at 1,700 and uh, May 22nd. Wow, 1 o'clock in the morning here. May 22nd, 2025. I, I am so sorry for coming on so late. It just can't be helped. There's so much news um, that we are trying to wrap our heads around and corroborate so that we can present it to the public because the media is not doing their job, right? The media is not doing their job. And there's no better example of the fake false media than El Paso Matters, Bob Moore of El Paso Matters. And matter of fact, I'm going to even I made some notes. Um, so we have, 1,755 days, 45 days. Oh my gosh, y'all. It's just really 1 o'clock in the morning. And here we are, 1,755 days. Yep. Okay. I was right. Make sure that I'm on. Looks like I'm on. Yep, everything is working good. Okay. Um, since Richard was forcibly removed, you have to remember that the prime suspects are his platoon leader, Dallas Hart, and his mother, Leilani Hart, who had access to Fort Bliss. So much access, so much access. And then, of course, their family member, former CID agent Tavita Nusa, who lost his badge. He lost his badge. These are the prime suspects. So this is law enforcement, right? This is, chain of command. So could they have access to Richard's room in the barracks? Could they go and forcibly remove him? Could they go and order other soldiers to help forcibly remove him? We have witness statement saying that they forcibly removed him from his barracks room, and we know that he was killed in the line of duty, that he lost his life in the line of duty, that it was on Fort Bliss. Okay, we know that there was a lot of motive. We know the motive because he was a witness. He was a witness to what was going on Fort Bliss. Uh, Absolutely. Also, the cartel criminal trafficking along the border, the El Paso Juarez border. We know that uh, he had witnessed to the what was going on with the Walmart mass shooting because um, unit members. So he had this witness, and then he didn't just leave it there. He whistle blew. He put it in writing. He was um, in communication with CID, with the FBI, with IG. We know that the IG were all over the barracks because of Halliday. We know that he was in communication with Washington, D.C. We know that he was in communication, that he even called 911 multiple times, that he was in communication with CPS, that he was reporting to CPS, Child Protective Services. We know that he was sticking up for children. So this is, there is absolutely motive. We have the prime suspects. The prime suspects because of multiple pieces of evidence that corroborates, and also because of a whistleblower, Judge Roger Rodriguez, who on January 18th of 2022, not because Richard's chain of command called us and told us, not because Donna Martin, Provost Marshal CID, would tell us, right? That, or that Marlon Soto CID would tell us, that they would call us. Or what about Ford? What about any of these? What about CID Howell, that they would call? CID Howell um, confirmed that he told us he didn't even know that about Judge Roger Rodriguez's whistleblower report identifying the prime suspects in Richard's murder. He said he didn't even know about it. Confirmed that that evidence, that report had been whitewashed out of Richard's file, right? That it had been deleted out of Richard's file, that it had been swept aside. We know that El Paso FBI field office, uh, FBI agent Eddie Nieto Jr., whose wife works in intelligence on Fort Bliss, we know that he leaked that report and the name, okay, and the name to Leilani Hart, to Tavita Nusa. That went, of course, to Leilani Hart. And this case is so, it just blows your mind all the time, because I don't know of any other case, and we've been studying so much. We have over 20,000 hours just on our investigation, which means you have to research everything, right? You have to research other cases. And, what other case do you know that Bob Moore of El Paso Matters would use the very prime suspects that were identified in Judge Roger Rodriguez's report from January 18, 2022, would use those very same prime suspects that were identified a year later as sources, false sources, unreliable sources, to retaliate against the whistleblower, Judge Roger Rodriguez. That is Bob Moore. That is how unethical he is. And not even telling in his story that this convicted criminal, Leilani Hart, the mother of Richard's platoon leader, Dallas Hart, and family member of CID agent Tavita Nusa, who lost his badge, right? That was investigating Richard's whistleblowing case and murder case, and also identified as a prime suspect in Richard's murder, did not even mention any of that in his January 2023 retaliatory political attack dog article against Judge Roger Rodriguez. But see, we knew it. We knew it because a year before that, Judge Rodriguez had contacted us to tell us that he had filed that report. He had to be the one that contacted us through our uh, phone number that we have, our hotline number that we have, to tell us that he filed the report with multiple agencies, and also with Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe. To find that out, you don't forget that, right? You don't forget that as the Gold Star parents, as the parents. You don't forget that Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe never picked up the phone to tell us. that it had to be the whistleblower risking himself. And then a year later, knowing that Bob Moore was such a snake, was so unethical, had no interest in true journalism, to leave that information out and use the very suspect, the convicted criminal, which he doesn't mention either, that she has a long criminal history before Richard was even born, to attack him, to discredit him as a whistleblower. Because not only was he a whistleblower, this is what we found out in January of 23 when we see Leilani Hart's name on there, that we find out he was not only a whistleblower in Richard's case, but in the Walmart mass shooting case. And that's how we put together that the two cases were one case. That not only was Richard's case intertwined with the cartel trafficking. Well, at that time, we hadn't confirmed that it was cartel. We suspected it because he had cartel members telling us, "Oh, the cartel has nothing to do with this," but they didn't realize that we're from that area. We went to school in that area. I was born at White Sands. My my husband's siblings, all of them were born at William Beaumont. And the insanity of that time with the whole COVID thing, the lockdown, everything. 2021 was just 2020, 2021 were just hell, right? And then we're trying to figure things out. We're trying to figure out who's who. And in 2023, we realized that Richard's case was intertwined not only with the criminal trafficking, but with the Walmart mass shooting. That the same individuals involved in his reports and his death were involved in the Walmart mass shooting. And that wasn't reported by Bob Moore either, was it? That wasn't reported by Bob Moore. Matter of fact, Bob Moore left out, he had on July 29th, 2020, confirmation that Patrick Crusius's brother was going to marry Alexis Miaella. That they were sweethearts. And sure enough, in 2021, they were married. May 2021. He knew that. He knew that the Miaellas were, that Alexis's father was the manager, the case manager, the court manager of the federal courthouse where Patrick Crusius was having his case. He knew that, and he didn't cover it. He kept it a secret. And so did the prosecutor, Stephen Spitzer. Kept it a secret because Spitzer absolutely knows the Miaellas. They all know Miaellas. The Joe Open Checkbook Spencer knows the Miaellas. Jaime Esparza, the district attorney at the time, knows the Miaellas because Michael Miaella was working for him in his administration, working with him alongside James Montoya. and Priscilla Mata in his administration. Of course, they knew each other. And not only was Michael Miaella the son of Michael Miaella Sr., not only was he working in the DA's office, not only did they have the federal courthouse um, controlled, but Michael Miaella also was interning in the El Paso field office at the FBI, where files were leaked, names were leaked, whistleblower names were leaked. Not only did he have access to those files in the DA's office and at the FBI, because he was a cybersecurity individual and he's a trained hacker. That's not for fun or whatever. He is a trained hacker. But he also was working in Walmart cybersecurity. Can you imagine? Because today, well, we've been very busy because the posts, a lot of the posts have gotten a lot of traction. And one of those is, of course, the marriage certificate evidence confirming that Alexis Miaella married Brian Blake Crusius, Patrick Crusius's brother. Okay, that post is big. It's a big post. And I want to thank everyone for sharing that post. And please share it some more because it's huge. It's huge news that Bob Moore of El Paso Matters didn't cover and had it in his lap, but, sold everyone out, the community out, the world out, because this is a huge mass shooting. This is it's El Paso is the front door to the United States. United States is very important. The front door to the United States is very, very important. And he didn't cover it. He concealed it from the public. And don't tell me that it wasn't because of greed or a quid pro quo. I won't believe you. I won't believe you. Because this is all about greed. And you see that very clearly with Joe Open Checkbook Spencer. It's all about greed. I mean, Bob Moore, again, in his recent article, shows he has no integrity at all, no interest in any kind of true journalism, because he just glosses over that they had $700,000 in miscellaneous expenditures in the Walmart mass shooting. So I have some really breaking news. And that is, we have confirmed that the Yvonne Rosales administration detected and confirmed that Walmart mass shooting case files went missing, deleted, tampered with, obstructed, however you want to say it, under the 34th Judicial District Attorney's administration of Jaime Esparza. I'm going to say that again. The Yvonne Rosales administration detected and confirmed that all of those files that people have been waiting to see, waiting to know for years and years, that multiple files were tampered with or deleted, obstructed under the Jaime Esparza administration, during the Jaime Esparza administration, the very administration that Michael G. Miaella was working for. Now, that's a wowzer, y'all. That's such, because we know that under Bill Hicks, the usurper, that Loretta Lynn Hewitt, the prosecutor in the case, she had her notebooks. Remember her notebooks, and in a hearing, and I should post up that hearing. Of course, we watched the hearing because our son's case is the Walmart case, right? So we're watching it all. But not too long ago, in a hearing before the case closed down, thank God it closed down, Loretta Lynn Hewitt took the stand and she said, and Bill Hicks admitted to this, that her notebooks had disappeared. She was not allowed to take them with her when she resigned her lead role as prosecutor in the case and left the 34th Judicial District Attorney's Office because of the chaos and the disgrace that it was. And her notebooks that had all of this witness testimony from neighbors of Patrick Crucius, and she would say from her memory where they said, no way could he have done this on his own. We know that because when he was 3 years old, he was banging his head on the concrete. He has severe autism. We know that he failed kindergarten. We know that even in special education, he was not doing well. He would have to be set aside because he would get frustrated and start hitting himself. And then we don't have his interviews, the videotapes of the interviews of his confession. We don't have the videos of the Walmart. So we know that files have been made to go missing. And we want to say thank you so much to those that are brave enough to post and are professional that are, this post that from Jose Angel, unbelievable post because he majored in cybersecurity. He works in IT for over 7 years. He was a witness. He was in the parking lot at the Walmart on that day. He said it was a lot of people. The parking lot was full. He couldn't find a parking spot, otherwise he would have been in there. And he said the false narrative, he did not, it was BS. He called it BS. He knew it was BS because Walmart has backup servers for these videos, for the surveillance videos. And, I'm saying this off the top of my head from his post. That was absolutely brilliant. And we had to check it. We had to check what he said. And because we already knew through our own investigation that what he said had merit, that had weight. Because we know that Richard's car was tampered with. That the whole narrative was false about Richard's car, about Richard's phone, about the phone records, about witness statements, about whistleblower reports. We know that things were tampered with. And we knew that. We knew that because we even reported on it during the very first, this was in November of 2020. We already knew and we reported on that at the task force, the very first task force Find Richard Halliday meeting with 15 plus agencies there. ATF, FBI, CID, DE, I mean 15 plus agencies plus the Mexican military, plus the Mexican government. There were so many people there. And we presented to them that Richard's case was being tampered with, that things were being leaked, that there were leaks, and that things didn't make sense. And so when we got that call on in January of 2022 from Judge Roger Rodriguez saying that he was a official whistleblower in our son's case, that he identified the prime suspects, and that they were tampering with the files that uh, CID agent Vida Nusa had access, was giving access to Leilani Hart, how he was leaking out to her, um, but that he had access to Richard's files. Richard's files, and I say files because of the whistleblower file and his murder. So, they had access and they were tampering with it. And the evidence over almost 5 years now, 20 and not just 5 years of, oh, maybe one day here, maybe one day here. No, this is every day, hours and hours and hours that we have spent. I don't know if any other case someone came out with the, I think it was the Epstein case or whatever, and they said, oh, they had so many hours, and we're like, oh, okay, well, we have that many hours, just as many or more hours on this case, which includes the Walmart mass shooting case. And so we absolutely know that there is obstruction and intimidation and, you know, and Bob Moore, we have given him all of this and he doesn't report on it. And he has other information that he doesn't report on. Matter of fact, he is inserting himself when he is part of the case. He's not like this neutral person, right? He is part of the case. So that makes a conflict of interest because he was engaging just like Command Sergeant Major Jakovitz. Sorry, his ongoing engaging with those that have threatened us, those that have threatened Richard, those that have harassed us, those that are the prime suspects in Richard's murder. At Jerry Jakovitz is engaging with them and against a Gold Star family. Against a Gold Star family. I mean, yeah, this okay. Especially when he is accused of trafficking, right? It corroborates, his actions corroborate what we're saying is true. And why is he allowed to be near young people? Because he works, at the YMCA. And why, you would think that he would move somewhere else. But I don't know if anyone else would give him a job because who supports the YMCA? It would be interesting to see if the El Paso Community Foundation supports the YMCA because the El Paso Community Foundation is the parent company for El Paso Matters of Bob Moore. And it would be very interesting to see what other quid pro quo was offered in El Paso for this disaster of a leader. And, we've concentrated on the generals because the generals are also treasonous. And, we only give you a part of the evidence because you all know when I say contracts, you know that there's LLCs involved in this, that there's no bid contracts involved in this worth millions and millions and even more. That this is a scam on the American people, that we're not in $37 trillion of debt for what, where is our beautiful roads? Where are our beautiful bridges? Where are, for that much, that is so much money, y'all. And that's just the debt. The grand theft larceny is turbo grand. It's grander than anything that Elon Musk could put out. It's just um yeah, and so was there tampering? Absolutely. Was there motive for tampering? Absolutely. What were there investigations into this fraud, into the criminal trafficking? Absolutely. We know that. We just found the Walmart gift card investigation information. Was that being concealed and withheld from us? Was Nadal Baim being concealed and his relationship with uh, Richard's command, Lieutenant Colonel Bradford Bugado? Yes. Was Judge Roger Rodriguez being concealed from us? Yes. Was Dallas Hart being concealed from us? Yes. Was Tavita Nusa being concealed from us? Yes. Was convicted criminal Leilani Hart being concealed from us? Yes. Was Jonathan Caleb Ambrose, 143 ADA, 143 ADA being concealed from us, being the husband of Danae Katzen, who targeted us, who was in possession of Richard's credit cards after his death, being family with Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia, who was also committing fraud um, with the uh, fraudulent distribution of the Walmart mass shooting victims funds. That was over $12 million. Rosa Maria, over $200,000 she gets. And, it's like, was that being investigated? Yes. That was confirmed that it was being investigated in the Yvonne Rosales administration. Just like we received the confirmation today that they had detected that administration, the one they schemed to remove and replace, the Yvonne Rosales administration, was looking into not only the El Paso Community Foundation fraudulent distribution of the Walmart mass shooting victims funds, but also that they detected that Walmart files, multiple Walmart files, had gone missing, deleted, under the administration of Jaime Esparza, who happened to have been the administration that Michael G. Miaella, the brother-in-law of Patrick Crusius, was working under. Yeah. And the media was swooning over the Bitcoin payments, I guess. I guess it was Bitcoin payments, or the quid pro quo, in order to publish the disgraced, unethical Bob Moore and his fake and false stories that concealed the truth from the public, and was used as, and still is, as a political attack dog against the Trump administration, against the Yvonne Rosales administration too, and against there was another whoever they didn't want. They're totally political, which is against their 501c3. If they want to be political, then they have to pay their own way. But they want their cake and eat it too. They want their 501c3 tax exempt status. But that comes with a neutrality. And Bob Moore is not neutral. And El Paso Matters is not neutral. And El Paso Community Foundation is the parent company for El Paso Matters. So, there is this thing that Christians know for a fact, that the devil, that Satan is a fallen angel, that Satan was a beautiful angel, had all the appearance of beauty, had all the appearance of trust, but none of it, was absolutely a sneaky snake. A sneaky snake. A sneaky, wanted the worst. Wants the worst for Eden, wants the worst for any community, wants the worst for creation. And this is this cartel group. This is this Bob Moore group. Bob Moore was engaging also with this same group over and over again with Angela Kachurga, right? And Angela Kachurga's husband, who was the first person, or who did he interview to get the facts about the Walmart case? Who did he interview? Texas Hart. Now, come on. You mean Dallas Hart's brother? Yes. You mean Leilani Hart's son? Yes. Younger son. Who was, and this is another thing that they kept from us. There's so much. What about Leilani Hart, convicted criminal Leilani Hart's affidavit? Don't you think that they would need to tell us that Richard's platoon leader was accused of incest, of the worst type of crimes against children, of possession of the worst type of crimes against children? Don't you think that we would need to know that? And they concealed that. Yeah. And of course, why would they conceal this? Because of the it's very clear. When you want to do a lot of grand theft larceny through contracts, you're risking whistleblowers. So you're going to have to do a lot of quid pro quos, or you're going to have to do a lot of compromising blackmails. So that's where the cartel comes in. They do a lot of bring in the cartel, let the cartel be in the military, let them be on post, let them compromise our military, our service members with their sex cult stuff, with their substances, with their bringing in 14-year-old girls living in the barracks for 4 months. And admitted, this is not me. This is just all reported. This is, a soldier is serving 18 years in prison, or what is it, 15 years? His sentences for this 14-year-old girl. Why wasn't uh, Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe held to account for this, or DES Thomas Kane held to account for this? She was living in the barracks, or the command sergeant major. Living in the barracks, being, abused for money. This is trafficking. And being the stepdaughter of the guard, one of the gate guards, and they didn't know she's living there for 4 months. 4 months? And they're bringing in girls during the lockdown when the gates are closed and they're just standing there with their party outfits on, and cars are coming. They're bringing carloads of girls to the barracks. What else are they bringing to the barracks that are in the girls' purses and pockets, or whatever, wherever, right? Um, and it's those girls had to have passes that would come from Thomas Kane, right? The DES. And that's how they compromised, because these girls were young. 4 months, you can do a lot of damage compromising our military. And yes, my voice is shaky because think about it. Think about what a frame job that is. What a horrible situation that is, because our soldiers have no choice. Our service members have no choice where they sleep. These young sons and daughters that volunteer, they must be in the barracks. That barracks has to be so watched, so watched. And those NCOs need to know exactly what's happening in those barracks. And the generals need to know exactly that their barracks are the best cared for barracks, because a compromising of our military, of our soldiers, of our sons and daughters is a national security threat, a national security risk. And people say, oh, this has been going on for a long time. Okay, it needs to stop. I don't care how long it's been going on. What a disgrace. What a disgrace. It needs to stop. And our son is dead because they were compromising our military sons and daughters in the barracks so that they could blackmail them, filming it all. They film it all. No matter what poison they're picking, they film it all. And then they can use the UCMJ for retaliation. They can abuse their power in every which way so that they can go get their contracts, so that they can go get, a piece of this criminal trafficking pie, for personal gain. Now, Secretary Hegseth has a huge job in front of him because we absolutely know that General Garrett, dirty. General McConville, dirty. General Mealy, dirty. Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe, dirty. And I would say treasonous, 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 because they're aiding and abetting and facilitating with a foreign entity with strings. People say, oh, but they haven't been um, designated until January of 2025. No, these strings were clearly marcated. Is that the right word? The strings were clearly attached to the cartel, to the CCP before January of 2025. Clearly. And there is plenty of evidence of it. Plenty of evidence. And it is no coincidence that Kyla Cardona was the assistant to Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe. I'll leave that right there. With her connection with Leilani Hart. It is absolutely it's a war. It is modern day warfare. It is the embedding and the infiltration and leaving that border and those tunnels. Don't forget about the tunnels. It's not just about the wall. It's about the tunnels. There's tunnels everywhere. And, Memorial Day is coming, so we went through some pictures. I posted the one from Tripsdrill when Richard was so little. We used to go there. We went there many years in a row for his birthday. He loved it. Because of his June birthday, it was just such a perfect time to go. And if it was your birthday and you went on your birthday, you got free entrance. And so we would pack up the kids and go. And if you don't know about Tripsdrill in Germany, it is a fantastic place to go. Amusement park, nature park, in the vineyards, and it's just so beautiful there. We even splurged one of the later years we went, and they have tree houses, and we stayed at a tree house. Very sweet, wonderful memories. And my heart is broken today. When you go through those pictures for Memorial Day and you see him in his uniform and you go through family pictures, and because our church said, we're having a special Memorial Day showcase and we want Richard to be there on that, he so young, and he should be getting married by now and having children. And here Bob Moore conceals this marriage, and they're doing that all behind the scenes. While our sons and daughters are being framed and set up and retaliated, and worse, even killed. And our country is being betrayed, and they're cashing in on it. These are the worst people. The Miaellas are the worst people. The Bob Moores are the worst people. And So it's media and then controlling the system and how they do it. And I wish I can tell you even more of their connections because of it connects Bradford Bugado and Nadal Baim um and the generals, it just connects through the LLCs and through their money laundering and everything like that. And it's so heartbreaking. And you know, in order to get accountability, in order to hold them accountable and stop this criminal cabal, this criminal trafficking network that they've created over years, um, and and just have turned into a business plan, right? A treasonous business plan. Um, in order to do that, only God can do it. Only God. And I just can't. One day I will absolutely tell you how God has moved through this. And we released some letters today about Bob Moore and, about exactly what I'm talking about today. And it's just when you write something like that, right? Which takes days. Used to probably would have taken us weeks, but now, we've just written so many. Um, it's you just see God's hand all over it. It was because of researching Delirious. Delirious, worked for the VA and she pilot, and she, biggest liar. Um, you're researching that um, and then you happen across this article, 29th of July, 2020. That article by Delirious's good friend, um, it opened the door to the Miaellas. And it really shows you how corrupt Judge Guadarrama is. We know that the most corrupt judge is Sam Medrano. The most corrupt judge in El Paso history, Sam Medrano. We know $700,000 for miscellaneous expenses and Bob Moore just, just skims over it, whitewashes it. Nothing to see here. Nothing to see here. El Pasoans don't need to know where $700,000 went to. We don't have even a competency hearing. We don't have a competency for Patrick Crucius, and we've got multiple files missing, deleted, tampered with. Nothing to see here. And evidence upon evidence upon evidence that he is corrupt, disgraced, unethical, and a political attack dog. So yeah, that's a lot of information there. Thank you so much, Danielle, for coming on. Thank you, Anicia, for coming on, especially so late. Look at it, it's almost 2 o'clock in the morning. But this is so important, and I'll try to get on a little bit earlier. But today was a wowzer. And of course, I wanted to talk about Mexico and the chief of staff being unalived and her aide being unalived and what this means for President Scheinbaum, how they're taking it, and other information that's coming out of Mexico because of the cartel just having so much control. But it's not. People have to understand, even in Mexico, this is CCP controlled. These strings go to the CCP. The money that it takes to direct all of this, hinunha, my Oma would say, right? Hinunha, the direction of all of this, and the coverage you have to in order to have this cartel criminal trafficking with all the money laundering, there has to be protection, and you have to then have control over the institutions of that country. So, you know, so much money has been spent to get control of the institutions of Texas. And it's really, really bad in Mexico. It really, at this point, I would almost, I hesitate to say it, but that it's already controlled by the CCP. I mean, when the chief of staff is that happens, I think that that is a clear indication that the Mexican people have lost control over their country. And with Richard being such a hero, can you imagine? He's such a hero because he was uncompromised. He was uncompromised, therefore, he could be a whistleblower, he could be a witness. And they did everything they could to try to compromise him, right? They tried to frame him, or they tried to just put these, abuse their power through the UCMJ, and but they could never get anything to stick. He's just made out of the same cloth as Donald Trump, Teflon man, right? Um, and Richard doesn't have the billions, right? He just has a good character. He just has a good character, and they couldn't get anything to stick. He's sparkling. He's a hero. He's a distinguished undergraduate. He's a guidon bearer. He's a guidon bearer. He's a Medal of Honor. Ethos. He's esprit de corps. So for Memorial Day, we'll be absolutely remembering him. And like every day, and getting justice for him. Because of him, we are bringing accountability to El Paso, to the media, to to the cartel, stopping them from taking away the sovereignty of El Pasoans, from taking away the sovereignty of Texas. Because I'm telling you, Greg Abbott is dirty. Veronica Escobar is dirty. You see how close they came, to taking over Texas. And Texas is huge. Huge. Look what they did to a duly elected district attorney, Yvonne Rosales. Look what they did to her. It was horrible. So, and look, we don't even have a DA there. A usurper and Mr. 2028 stamp. So to bring the sovereignty back to El Pasoans so that they can vote for their judges in the El Paso Criminal Law Magistrate Court, to bring sovereignty back to El Pasoans so that they can have a chief medical examiner that is a citizen, that has their best interest at heart, and that can be a, a true witness in these capital cases, right? Because right now, with this illegal Mario Rascon Ortiz, he botches every case. So we need to bring back the sovereignty to El Pasoans to have a real district attorney. We have to bring back the sovereignty to El Pasoans so that we can have a manager in the federal courthouse that is not compromised with the cartels. And I mean, they stayed silent, y'all. And they know exactly who Patrick Crucius is and how much money. They knew he didn't have 0. So we need to bring sovereignty back to Texas and have a governor who is not part of the grand theft larceny. Yeah. And, can we do it? No, only God can do it, and God's doing it. That's what I'm telling you. God is doing it. It's just, you know, some people don't have faith. I'm telling them, just look at this case. Spend an hour with me and let me tell you about this case, and you will absolutely believe in God because God is the only reason why this has moved forward. From Nadal Baim to Jonathan Ambrose to Judge Roger Rodriguez to now this information, the Miaellas. It's just a miracle. And I just want to thank everyone so much for all your input because, God will light a little fire in you, give you that wisdom, just like this IT expert, right, that wrote on our site. That was so big. I don't even know if he knew how big that was because he was a witness there in the parking lot. I don't know if he knew how big. It was huge. And we're very grateful. And all of you that have given us information constantly, keep giving it because we're always reviewing. And you have just broken I can't, so much, so much. Just Nadal Baim being a Palestinian arms dealer. That was from Team Fire Richard Halliday. And we're very grateful. And so, when all this, I know it's taking a long time, but um, it's all in God's timing. So thank you so much. God bless you. And I will be back tomorrow, God willing. Never give up. Never give up. And do